I'm going to show you how to create plan notes in Revit using a note block, an alternative to the built-in Keynote system. This method keeps everything inside of Revit and avoids some of the limitations that come with external Keynote files. There are some limitations to the Keynote system. If I do associate a Keynote file to one of these elements, such as in here, the Keynote file that I pick inside here is going to always remain within this element. It's not going to actually store the Keynote. It's only going to literally store the Keynote ID, and it uses a lookup function that brings that text note, Keynote text, into here. So what that means is it's not technically stored into the element that I'm trying to put the Keynote. So what does that do? How does that impact us? Well, if I have a Keynote right here that says 102.800.t00, and I accidentally overwrite the Keynote file, or somebody comes in and edits the text note file that we looked at earlier, and changes the Keynote text or just deletes the note altogether, this number will remain in this Keynote tag or in any elements that we've added the Keynote to, but it will no longer be pointing to anything, and so your schedule will be empty. So you can break those Keynotes. They're not tied to anything. They're not related to anything except for just looking for a static source to always point to. And so Autodesk recommends, if you're going to use their Keynote system, that you always tie it to a static source. You always have a document that governs, and you don't renumber it. And then in which case Keynotes work great, and they're quite handy. But there's another way to capture notes on a plan. Some firms call them Keynotes. I've heard them called plan notes before, and I'm going to show you those today. So I'm going to take this family. We're going to build it from scratch. We're going to take the Keynote family that we have here. We're going to do Edit Family. We are going to take what we have here. Whenever I modify a family and I want to keep it as consistent with the original as possible, I'll usually select all the fields at once and deselect the lines. I just want the tags, the text fields, and so I'm selecting those, and I'll just hit Control-C to enter that into my clipboard. And then I can change up here. We are going to create a generic annotation. This is what we're going to use to create a note block from. So hitting that, and you notice this is why I added Control-C, because it wiped out that field entirely. So I'm going to paste align to current view. And what we have here, it's still the fields from the previous tag that we were looking at, the Keynote tag. So it's going to be wrong. So we need to fix it, but that's okay. We at least are not having to mess with alignment issues. Everything comes into place and will look as consistent as possible to the original Keynote, which that is the goal. So I have this here. I'm going to hit Edit Label. Again, key value. This is not a parameter that we need, so we want to replace this with a placeholder. We want to move away from these Keynote parameters altogether. We're going to add a new parameter. We want this just to be an instance parameter. We want this to be, we'll call this key ID. Let's go ahead and make it a text data type. You could do integer, you could do number, but sometimes with notes we like to have alphanumeric characters or other things in them, and this will allow you to give you the most flexibility with your ID. And of course we can say Keynote ID, and the tooltip is for folks who want to, if we're passing this along to other users and we want to be consistent, and we can group it if we want. I'll do identity data because that's kind of true. This is the identity of the tag. So we have our key ID. We want to push that to the left, and we can just go ahead and replace this. Actually, I'm going to go ahead and do XX. I like to use the capital letter X because it gives you a nice full picture of what your character is going to look like in a preview. And then, of course, it does matter what you put in your sample value if you're building legends with components, but we'll get into that later. I'm going to hit OK, and there we go. So there's our parameter. We just built it, edit label, and it has our key ID. That's good. That's what we want. Okay. I'm going to hide that. There is one other thing behind it. Because when we pasted, we had multiple fields, if you recall, selected. That's right. So we have Keynote text. Again, we don't want to mess with Keynote text, but we will replace this like for like. So we're going to create a new parameter. Let's call this keynote. We'll call it text field. We're going to be creative and add the word field to it to make it great. I'm going to go ahead and say data type is going to be text. Let's do multi-line text actually, because this allows you for it makes it easier to edit when you're dealing with complex data in your text notes, and sometimes keynotes can get complicated. So we'll go ahead and hit OK. And again, just like last time, we're going to swap these out, and I think that's okay. For our keynotes, I know they have them, and we'll keep it horizontally aligned. It'll be just fine. Okay, so here we are. We're going to do file, save as. We need to take what we've made and save it somewhere. I'm just going to go ahead and dump it here. Files, keynote, we'll call it sim for symbol. It's not a tag any longer, it's now just a symbol. And then we will reset our temporary hide. HR, I use hotkeys like crazy, but anyways, that brought us out of here. You see behind, we still have our generic annotations, we still have our box. Everything's going to look exactly like the keynote, so we're ready to go. So we made the modifications, everything's built. We're going to go ahead and save changes to Keynote Sim. Yeah, we're happy with that. Load it into project and close, and here we go. Okay, great. So this is not the plan I want to be on. We want to use this plan to show you. We have exercise bikes here in this, so we're gonna call out those. Notice the symbol, I can place it wherever I want. That's just being ridiculous here. We don't need to do that, but you'll notice that we've built the keynote text field, right, and the keynote ID. Keynote ID, we could match the CSI divisions, but for demonstration, we're just going to go 001, hit enter. There is our keynote ID. See how it looks just like the other one? We're going to add a leader and point to the exercise bikes and elbow. Now we're going to add our keynote text right here. We're going to call this exercise bike. If I can spell. Maybe today's not a spelling day. Anyways, exercise bike, and remember, we want to be consistent with punctuation, so we're going to throw in a period. Very good. All right, so we have that, and you'll notice it's not going to populate our keynote legend because we're doing something different now. With this approach, we're actually going to now annotate a, we need back to schedules, so I think that's under view. I need to move this guy out of my way here. There we go. View. Very good. Perfect. All right, so view, we're going to go to schedules. Here we are, and we want to do something called a note block. Now, this is what Autodesk has been recommending folks do for plan notes, keynotes. The keynote system itself is sort of legacy, and it's ran into complications with user sharing. So this is now what folks are teaching over at the community college for the kids to learn how to do when they do keynotes, plan notes. So we're doing a note block. Note block's going to look for a generic annotation, and you know this, we have our keynote sim. Remember, we called it a symbol, not a tag. That's great. And we're going to call note block name, we want to call this plan note legend, just to differentiate it from the keynotes because it's not technically a keynote. Great. And you'll notice all of our parameters are here from that element. Now, if you recall, I think we had keynote number and keynote text field. I think those were our parameters that we had created. Of course, the holdovers, and we probably could have purged our family, would have been a cleaner approach, but these aren't harming anything, so we'll just ignore them for now. But you can always purge your families, probably a good idea before loading them in and using them in production to clean them out. But nonetheless, will get us to where we need to be. So number, text, field, we have our two parameters there. We want to do filter. I'll do filter by keynote does not equal XX because I like to, I guess keynote, wrong parameter. It would have been the keynote key ID, that's right. Let's move that guy out of here. My mistake, we have key ID. Filter key ID equals or does not equal XX because I don't like those. I like to use those for my legends, and I don't want to schedule those in my schedule. So now we want to With plan notes, we don't want to itemize that by instance because we want, maybe there's multiple number ones or maybe there's multiple number threes, like if you use the word align or something. So this will allow them to collapse into rows with like items. And this will define how they sort and create rows. So for our purposes, we want to sort by ID first, and then we want to sort by, so this will, any ones and twos and threes will all separate, but the Keynote text will have no bearing in sorting. But since we want that to all match as well, if we then sort by Keynote text field, that'll at least force us to review and consider the Keynote text, make sure that we are dealing with any overlaps, etc. It gives us a chance to kind of check our work. So I always do both, even though these should always match. But this just is a way to ensure consistency amongst your project. So anyways, we can add so that's that. We can add a blank line between key IDs if we want to separate them and give space to help them breathe a little bit better. And we're not going to get into formatting and appearance tabs here, but those you can customize how you want your schedule to look. But what we have here gets us to what we need. So I'm going to go ahead and hit OK. Note block properties. Okay, great. And so right now, again, this is going to schedule everything in the project. So let's go here to, we have plan note legend. I'm going to go ahead and copy that to my clipboard. Here we are on the plan. I'm going to paste it here, plan note legend. And look how similar that looks to the other one. And almost, it's exactly the same. But now we no longer have to mess with a text file. We're operating exclusively in Revit, which is great. And we're exclusively operating within Revit families or blocks. So if I change this to Y, which no one would, but I'm doing that anyways, you'll see it changed here. And you'll see our note over here should also say Y. Yeah, there it is. Very good. And I can copy it and remember how we did the sorting. It should always remain as one row because of how we have things set up, unless I decide to say this should be correctly number one. And then you'll see it's starting to sort them, and I'm not sure why Y comes before 1, but I think that's, yeah, we have key ID. That is what it is. Okay, let's go ahead and add more keynotes. So I'm going to take this, an easy way to add keynotes, I can just copy this and say, we'll do our coat hook example again. That was a fun one. We'll say 02. Now, one thing to to avoid confusion, again, we talked about how this value affects your key ID here, and then this value is the text. I still have it selected, so I'm going to go ahead and edit the text. Call it coat hook. Ooh. Period. You'll see that's there. Good. So that looks good. But you want to be careful changing things in the text, in the actual note block. For example, if I have this 00Y here, and I want to change this bike text note to exercise bike handlebars. That's fine and good, right? And that seems easy enough. And I think I did. The one thing to note is that that value is stored in this one block, not in the bike, not in the other notes. So this is one of the limitations we need to talk about. So what it's done is it's separated that out. You see we have 2 rows for 00Y. Remember, it's sorting by ID first and then by text note field. So it's broken that out. So you see them, they're now side by side. And that's intentional. That's a way to kind of look, and also a way to check for errors after you're done making your plan notes. I'm going to go in here and just let's make them all say handlebars. So the easiest way is to actually go in here and hit Control C. That way we're not having typos. We're removing human error, and Control V, pasting over that, and there, notice how it collapses back into a single row. Again, it's meeting the rules of sort by number and then sort by text, which is what we want. So we have a nice and tidy plan note legend, even though we may not like the way the numbering system is set up. So again, as we've discussed, we could go change it one by one here and make the 00Y the correct number, but rather we're going to go over here instead. Better way to do it, since we're collapsing this, and if I hit this row, I'll show you here real quick. I select the row and I go back to plans. you'll notice it has 2 items selected. It looked like I only selected one thing here, but there's 2 items selected. And why is that? Well, it's because it's collapsing both of those into a single row. So I have them both selected. I can, of course, edit it over here and edit both of them at the same time, or the better way, and probably the easier way if you're training other folks to use a template, is to just instruct them to change that number in the schedule. So I'm going to go ahead and make this 003. Notice it's sorted and moved it to the end as it should. We set up those sorting rules, Keynote text field, and look at that. There we go, 001, 002, 003. And notice it changed all of them. 001, it changed one of them. Oh, did we change the wrong one? Oh, we knew what we needed to do. We needed to change this one to 003. There we go. Oh, and then we need to make sure that they're all the same. Control C. Again, remember we edit in the schedule, and then that helps us avoid errors on the plan. But note, it does change all of them in the plan at once. So again, if we click this, you'll see exercise by candles, handles all 003, which is great. So again, that's one way of doing plan notes. They're a nice use for text on plans when you don't want text cluttering up your plans. So this approach solves a lot of problems with traditional keynotes by keeping everything inside Revit. But even this still relies on manual input and coordination. In the next video, I'll show you how to take this even further with Smart Tools, where AI helps you write, manage, and standardize notes automatically.
Introducing Smart Keynotes. Smart Keynotes gives you an AI-powered assistant to help write, refine, and standardize your annotations instantly. No more digging, no more retyping, no more friction. Just a clean, intuitive workflow that keeps up with your design thinking. Because keynotes shouldn't slow you down. They should move with you. AI isn't replacing designers, but designers using AI are replacing those who don't. Take control of your tools. Work smart.